Welcome to the first episode of By the Fire, where I'll be taking you through mythical tales and creatures from across the Black diaspora. My name is Ken, and I'm a Nigerian woman and a first-generation citizen of the UK. I will be your guide through the many tales that have been passed down and written. You'll be hearing about gods and goddesses from the Yoruba religions, black vampires dwelling amongst the Americans, and water mothers from Trinidad and Tobago, and a whole lot more. Join me every 2 weeks and explore tales of mythical creatures and superstitions, where I'll be reviewing books and movies relating to Black legends, and you can hear from guest speakers who'll be sharing their insights into their specialised fields. I haven't heard a lot nor read about folklore and fantasies that originated in lands populated by Black people, and I thought that this podcast would be an opportunity for me to learn a bit more about legends from my own country as well as those from the diaspora. If you're somewhat of a fantasy or horror nerd and would like to hear more mythology from non-Western settings, then this podcast is for you. If you're not either of those things, but you're someone who simply wants to learn more about folklore that originates from your own country, like me, then this is also for you. Here's a little taster of what to expect from this podcast. Today I'll be talking about the silk cotton tree, and this is a tree where spirits and other supernatural beings reside, and it's thought that if you don't want a curse on you, it's a good idea not to cut down this tree nor build things around it. Spirits who are thought to reside in the tree comes from slavery, where in Jamaica, for example, Spanish colonizers would force a slave to bury treasure underneath the tree, and then they would kill that slave, releasing the spirit of the slave into the tree, so that if anyone would try to tamper with the tree in order to get the treasure, they would then be killed by the spirit of the slave who buried the treasure. This is the same story taught in Guyana, however, instead of the Spanish, it was the Dutch. It's so cool because even today, people are still afraid to cut down the tree in fear of releasing spirits. It's noted that a tree is positioned in the middle of the road in Mahagany, which is a town in Guyana. This is because from 1975 to now, any person who tried to cut down the tree in order to finish constructing the road either died under gruesome and sometimes even under unexplained circumstances, while others were either crippled or in one case were suddenly unable to speak. It's quite hard to visualize, but essentially, if you look at a road, it's straight ahead, but then instead of going straight ahead, it then forks, so it continues left and right because there's a literal silk cotton tree right in the middle of the road, just because, people didn't want to die from cutting it down. In other folktales, the silk cotton tree actually plays a huge part because it's essentially the home of other supernatural creatures, not just residing in the Caribbean, but in West African countries too, such as the Asanbozam, which is a vampire creature residing in Ghana, and the Ohaig, which is sort of a vampire creature as well, which lives in Trinidad and Tobago. So I hope you enjoyed that little taste there, and I hope it sort of piqued your interest into what the rest of this podcast is about. If you'd like the sources to the information I mentioned about the silk cotton tree, check out my blog online, bythefirepodcast.blogspot.com, where I'll be listing out all the websites and reading I found online. You'll be able to listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and SoundCloud, and be sure to use the hashtag BTFpod so we can continue the conversation online. If you have a mythical creature or folktale you'd like to hear, or you'd simply like to be a guest on the show, feel free to email me at bythefire.mail@gmail.com. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to you tuning in to the next one. Bye!